Hi, it's Marianne of MW's Designs. In my last video, I was experimenting with painting watercolors on drawing paper. And I did that because I wanted to have a lightweight, easily foldable paper to make my gift bags. But after I painted on the drawing paper, I decided that I would buy some actual watercolor paper, and I bought 90-pound watercolor paper and painted my watercolors on that, and that's this paper. I really liked it because I found that, of course, being watercolor paper, the paint flowed a little better, and it is fairly easy to fold. It's a lot lighter than what I usually use for watercolor painting, the 140-pound paper. So I'm pretty happy with this. I painted on both sides because I want to have the color on the inside of my bags as well as on the outside. I'm going to show you how I make a bag, and I'm going to do a small one just because it's easier to work with while making a video. And it's going to be 1.5 inches across, 1 inch on the side pieces, and 1 inch on the bottom. The height is going to be 2.5 inches. I've already cut this piece down a little bit, and I'm going to be making my measurements on the back side, so when I make my creases it won't, and measurement marks, it won't show on the front. And if you have a card maker's scoring board, I would recommend that you use that for this part of the process, because it will be a lot easier. But since I don't have one, I am going to be using a ruler and a set square. And the reason I'm using the set square is that will help me make perpendicular lines that are straight, measuring from my edge. And I'm going to, okay, we'll start with the measurements, I think. So for one of the edges, I am going to measure 1 inch. And then for the front, I'm going to measure 1.5, and another 1 inch for the edge, and then 1.5 more for the back. Then there's going to be a little bit more which will be folded over and glued, and that will be the part that holds the bag together. So now I'm going to measure the height, which I said was 2.5 inches. So right there, and then there will be 1 inch for the bottom piece. Now I'm going to use my set square and make my vertical scoring lines. If you have a bone folder, you can use that. Mine is actually made out of wood. My husband made it for me, and I really like it. It works well, and it's very nice looking. So I'm going to score my lines here, and it's important that you be as accurate as possible, because the more accurate you are, the easier it will be to put your bag together, and it's less likely to turn out crooked. So I'm doing those. Now I have my 2.5 measured here, and now I want to measure 2.5 on this side. and then my 1 inch below that. Then I am going to use my ruler to join those 2 points. Next, I'm going to cut this out. I've got a little bit of excess on the end here. And you can save your scraps. Later on, I'm going to have another project that will be using up scraps. So next, we want to fold on our score lines. Get a fairly good crease. And I like to do it on the inside part because that's where I can see my score lines. And then I'm going to fold it in the other direction so that it will be folded correctly so that the outside part shows. Okay. So now just go the other way, and it's fairly easy to do because it's already folded, and then the bottom. Okay, now I want to cut out some little triangles from the bottom up to this crease line, just to get rid of some of the bulk of the paper on the bottom. That will make it easier for gluing the bag together. And I'm not really worried that these triangles are exactly the same. I'm just eyeballing it, and it's just to get rid of the extra paper. So I do that for each of the flaps at the bottom. And again, you can save those scraps. And the last one, I'm actually going to cut out that whole rectangle because this part is going to get glued, but not this part. So I just want to get rid of it and then do the little triangle. Okay. Put those to the side. There, now we are ready to start gluing. And I like to put parchment paper underneath when I'm gluing so that I don't have as much of a mess. I'm going to use stick glue and oh, I got one more thing to do before we start gluing. I like to do a decorative edge along the top, and I'm going to use my scallops for this one. But if you have other fancy edge scissors, you can use whatever suits you. Sometimes I use a decal edge scissor, and I like that edge. And also I have an old pair of pinking shears, so I can get a zigzag edge. I also have one that's called Victoria, and I like the edge of that too. That's kind of a, I don't know, sophisticated edge, I guess. And now I want to measure and make sure that this is the same height, and it looks pretty good, so I think I'll go with that. Now this part is going to get glued down here, so let's just make sure that it's okay. It's not quite matching, but I think it'll be close enough. So we put our glue on this edge, fairly good amount so that it stays put. Now I'm going to match this up and glue it down. You might have to work with it a little bit to get it lined up. And then just press it well with your fingers. And that will glue fairly quickly. Then we're going to do the flaps at the bottom. We're going to use the two smaller ones. Okay, and the glue goes on the outside edge. And I do both of them at the same time. Just using my finger as a support behind the flap. Then fold those in and bring down one of your bigger pieces. Then turn the whole thing around, and I find that the end of a pencil works really well to just go inside and tap it down. And then I go to the bottom again, and that side is not glued yet, so we want to put glue on it. Press it in, turn it over, and tap again. There. So that's the main part of the bag finished. And I'm just going to let that dry. I'm going to bring out another bag and show you how I fold the edges. So I go to the top and I use my index fingers and push in. Then I press the edges. Move down a little bit and again push in and press. Then when you get to the bottom, you can take that bottom base and press it down like that. And you will have a fairly nicely folded bag when you open it up. You can see it just has made those creases along the inside very naturally. And the next part is putting the handle on. Sometimes I have used raffia ribbon, which I like quite a bit. It has a nice look to it. I have also used, on some of my bigger bags, I've used wide ribbon. And I think that one turned out really nice. This is kind of a shiny ribbon. So that's one. And then I have also used narrow ribbon, which works well on the smaller bags. On this one, I am going to use a blue. You could also use a pink, but I didn't have a pink that worked well with this color, so I'm going to use blue. Now, I just take a length of the ribbon and decide how long I want it to be, then cut, measure the second piece with the first one, and there we have our ribbon. Now I am going to use liquid glue, and as I mentioned in a previous video, I like to store my glue upside down so that the glue is always ready to come out the nozzle when I want it. So I put dabs of glue just inside the top on each end of the longer part of the bag and then go on the other side. And sometimes I leave the glue just a little while and it sets up a bit. Then it's more tacky than messy and gluey. But I'm just going to go with it for now. Now you want to make sure when you put your ribbon on that you don't have any twist along the top. So I lay this in flat and using my tweezers I press it down and then come to the other side, and yep, that won't be twisted, so I put that one in and press it down. Okay, my bag is sticking a little bit, but you can see how I've glued that in there. And I turn over and go to the other side, put my ribbon in. Now the next part, I've got glue on my fingers, so my ribbon is sticking to my fingers. Okay, let's try that again. I put my ribbon in here and make sure I don't get a twist. Okay, that guy came out. Sometimes it works better if you let the first ribbon dry before you move on to the second side, but for the purposes of this video, I don't want to wait for it. Okay, so I'm just going to use my tweezers and press that down, then come around. And for this part, I want to see that these are kind of matched up, and I've got it a bit long, I think. Let's just see. Maybe not. Let's just try that. We'll put that in there because you want them to be fairly close in length so that it doesn't look weird. And just push that in there. And there are the little ribbons attached. Okay, so in my next video, I am going to be showing you how to decorate the outside of the bags. For example, I've got a little bit larger bag here, and I have cut out some sentiments from a large book that I have, and that would be nice. I probably would cut off the top and bottom because it's a little bit long, but that would look quite nice on there. This one is a little bit smaller and it fits better. Actually, I'm going to turn it over so it doesn't have the crease. Oh, I actually like that better. The color contrast is very nice. On some of my bags, I have used little flowers that I bought at the dollar store. And if you like to make your own embellishments, like I do, I am going to be using some butterfly designs. And I will be showing you how to finish off these butterflies so that they have a little more dimension and they look quite pretty on the bags. And on the smaller ones, I'm also going to do butterflies. So smaller butterflies for that. And I forgot to mention another one of the handles that I like to use for the small bags is baker's twine. That works quite well on these bags. So I hope you will join me in my next video. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. And if you're not subscribed to my channel and you would like to be, hit the subscribe button and the bell beside it, and then you will be notified about any upcoming videos. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.